Did you know that children who grow up in abusive or neglectful homes are statistically far more likely to end up in abusive relationships as teenagers and young adults? Not because they're broken and not because they attract drama. It's because trauma wires the nervous system to confuse what's familiar with what's safe. And for too many people, chaos ends up feeling safe because it's all they know. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, adults who experienced abuse or neglect as children are 2 to 3 times more likely to end up in abusive relationships later in life. The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence reports that around 70% of women in domestic violence shelters say they experienced some form of abuse or neglect growing up. One of the largest trauma studies ever conducted, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, found that people with 4 or more ACEs are 7 times more likely to experience intimate partner violence. They're also 5 times more likely to struggle with mental health issues like anxiety or depression, and significantly more likely to enter relationships where boundaries, safety, and respect are compromised. The numbers paint a clear picture. What happens to us as kids doesn't stay in childhood. It follows us into our adult relationships. Let's talk about the psychology behind the pattern. When you grow up in an environment where love is inconsistent, neglectful, harmful, your brain learns to survive in chaos. You don't crave what's healthy, you crave what's familiar. And healthy love can actually feel foreign, even uncomfortable at first. But the pull toward familiar pain can feel magnetic, but here's why. Familiarity versus safety. If your childhood came with control, fear, or emotional unavailability, your nervous system associates that with connection. So when someone shows up calm, kind, or consistent, it doesn't register as love. It registers as, this person feels off. And we often have attachment wounds because many survivors develop anxious or disorganized attachment styles. They feel drawn to emotionally unavailable people and minimize red flags or try to earn the love that they were denied as a child. But here's the kicker: nobody should have to earn love. There's often a pattern of boundary erosion because when your no was not respected as a child, it's harder to enforce boundaries as an adult. And abusive partners exploit this because blurred boundaries make you easier to control. And with growing up in these toxic homes, you often have low self-worth or shame because trauma teaches kids to believe that we're the problem. And that shame follows us into adulthood, making it easier to tolerate mistreatment. You have to think about the trauma bonding because abusive relationships often mirror childhood dynamics, intense highs, crushing lows, and unpredictability. And this cycle creates a chemical bond. That's not love. It's your body's way of saying, this is survival. This is what I know. This is familiar. This is going to be a 3-part series, and we're going to discuss why people stay in these abusive relationships. And the 3rd part is going to be breaking the cycle, because you can break the cycle. Because even though you grew up in a home where abuse and neglect and chaos seemed normal, you have the ability to change. You have the ability to grow, and you have the ability to heal so that you can start to learn how to love yourself and understand what healthy love actually looks like. The biggest thing to remember is that if you have grown up in a home where you were neglected, where you felt unloved, the worst thing that you can do is get into a relationship with someone before you have done the work on yourself. Because getting into a relationship with someone, it is going to cause you more chaos, more trauma, and more issues, because you're not taking the time to heal what you need to heal inside of you with the wounds that you have from your childhood, and you're just adding more on top, thinking that someone is going to save you from your problems, and that's just not going to happen. Society has kind of conditioned us women to believe that relationships are the solution to all of our problems, and relationships can be great when they are healthy, when they're reciprocal, and when you actually know how to love yourself, how to accept love, and how to give love. Because a lot of us who grew up in homes that we felt were chaos, and we didn't get the emotional nurturing that we needed, we don't really know how to love. We don't know how to show love. We don't know how to give love. And we do not know how to accept love. The best thing that you can do for yourself is not look for a relationship to help heal what is wounded inside of you, and actually do that healing within yourself before you try to jump in any relationship. And I know that that's much easier said than done, but take the time to focus on what it is that you need in your life, rather than thinking that someone else is going to somehow magically give you what you need. Let me know if you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.